What can the budget do to keep India's growth momentum growing, at the same time create jobs as well? Latest visuals of the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman leaving her residence and making her way to Kartavya Bhavan to present this year's budget. Just about a couple of hours to go before she presents the budget. Focus this year is on keeping India in the economic sweet spot. That, in the context of the uncertainty that is growing around the world, especially because of the trade disruptions caused by the actions of the United States of America. The government is expected to signal discipline in this budget by shifting attention to the all-important debt to GDP ratio. Bear in mind, artificial intelligence, agriculture and defense are all major thrust areas. Apart from electric mobility, we have my colleague Sabyasachi Roy joining us from outside Nirmala Sitharaman's residence. Sabyasachi, it's clear from the visuals that the Finance Minister has left her residence. She's on her way to Kartavya Path to present the budget.
That's right, Krishna. See, shortly from now, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has left from her residence and she is heading towards Kartavya Bhavan. Now, Krishna, it is significant because earlier the Finance Minister used to head towards North Block, but all the ministries now have shifted to Kartavya Bhavan. So this would be the first time that the photo op session will happen at Kartavya Bhavan, and post that she would head to Rashtrapati Bhavan to meet the President, and after that she will be heading towards the Parliament, where she will be meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and after that will be meeting the Cabinet for the budget approval, and after that she will be presenting the budget in the Parliament for the entire nation and around 2:30 is the time when the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will be also holding a press conference to address the entire nation. Krishna.
Sabyasachi Roy there joining us from outside Nirmala Sitharaman's residence. A big change in traditions in that sense, isn't it? The fact that the whole thing has been moved to Kartavya Bhavan, and of course, I'm guessing all the other things remain the same. There will be a press conference by the Finance Minister after the presentation of the budget.
That's right, Krishna. See, from the North Block, the Finance Ministry has now shifted to Kartavya Bhavan, and rest of the itinerary remains the same, where the photo session will now happen at Kartavya Bhavan, where Nirmala Sitharaman with the red Bahi Khata will come out along with her entire team for the photo session, and post that she will be heading towards Rashtrapati Bhavan. Now, this will be Nirmala Sitharaman's 9th consecutive budget, and the central government already have made big promises, and post Operation Sindoor we are going to see major boost to the defense sector this time around, and also focus will be on boost to the AI sector and also the railway connectivity across the country, and boost to the infrastructure development across the country as well. And every single budget has a message, Krishna, and this time the message we have to see whether the message will be focused on the polls that are due in the 5 states, Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Assam, Pondicherry and Kerala. So whether the central government will announce major boost for these states where polls is due in couple of months. So we have to wait and see, but all eyes are on Nirmala Sitharaman, where the salaried as well as the middle class men are looking that there would be some sort of deduction as far as the taxes are concerned, because already in 2025 she has announced major tax exemption for the middle class and the salaried man, but there are certain confusions as far as the old tax regime and the new tax regime is concerned. So the central government today will be presenting the budget today, whereas the opposition time and again have been raising this issue that there is lack of employment in the country. The youth of the country are suffering because of the lack of employment, and time and again Prime Minister Narendra Modi, whether it is on different public addresses or whether it is in Mann Ki Baat, have addressed the importance of entrepreneurship entrepreneurs as well as address the importance of Gen Zs across the country. So we are hoping that major push and policies are going to be announced by the central government as far as the employment is concerned for the youth of the country.
Absolutely. Sabyasachi, very important that, what are the announcements that will be made in Budget 2026 that will go towards job creation. Certainly, it's a major focus area this time around. As we bring the visuals of the fact that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has reached Kartavya Bhavan. We've shown you visuals of her leaving the residence. That's where Sabyasachi Roy is standing. And on your right are visuals of her entering Kartavya Bhavan. Sabyasachi, apart from job creation and income tax, this budget is coming at a time of great global uncertainty. Be it the tariff action by the US or the changing geopolitical landscape per se in the world, and India continues to be one of the fastest growing major economy in the world. So the big picture is going to be equally important in this budget. How will India ensure that it continues to be the fastest growing major economy in the world in the face of tariff pressures? Yes, India recently did strike a very important, the mother of all deals with the European Union. India already has a free trade agreement with the UK. We are supposed to be hearing good news about a free trade agreement with the US very soon. That's what Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has been talking about. In this context, how this particular budget positions itself, positions India and positions Indian economy to make sure it's immune to all these global wranglings is going to be very important.
Well, Krishna, definitely challenges are there in front of the central government, and in the all-party meeting which happened in the national capital inside the parliament before the start of the session, whereas all the opposition parties had demanded a clarity as far as India's stand on geopolitics is concerned. And what was interesting to note is that the TDP, who's the alliance of the Bharatiya Janata Party and part of the NDA, they also in fact demanded clarity from the central government as far as the geopolitics is concerned, and they also demanded clarity on the negotiations that is going on with the Trump administration, because these political parties said that it is embarrassing for the country, where time and again US President Donald Trump have been threatening India with tariffs, have been claiming that he was the one who made sure that India did not went into a full-scale war with Pakistan. So the opposition have been demanding clarity as far as geopolitics is concerned, as far as the tariffs are concerned, or the negotiations which have been going on with the Trump administration. Now, from the central government point of view, it is very much important that the central government push for Swadeshi products across the country, and that is the reason this could be on the one of the most important thing as far as the list of the central government is concerned, to push to promote Swadeshi products as much as possible. Now, there is several important sectors are likely to get a major push from the budget, whether it is the defense. Agriculture is one sector where we are hoping that major announcement will be made by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, where the Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana will be increased from 6,000 to 9,000 rupees, what we are learning from the central government sources. So, Krishna, we have to wait and see. But when you talk about the clarity as far as the geopolitics is concerned, or how things are changing, and what is the current status of the negotiations with the US counterpart, that will be interesting to note. What answers does the central government comes up, because in fact the TDP also has demanded clarity from the central government on this regard.
Sabyasachi Roy, so all eyes are on Sansad Bhavan at this stage. That's where the finance minister will begin her budget speech at around 11 a.m. Just for people keeping score watching this, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is presenting her 9th consecutive budget. Before this, you had Moraji Desai who presented for 10 times, but that wasn't consecutive. And P. Chidambaram too presented the budget 9 times, and even that wasn't consecutive. And that is the reason why we're saying that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presenting her 9th budget is historic, because it's the first finance minister in India's history to present 9 consecutive budgets.
Well, that's right, Krishna. She will be presenting the 9th consecutive budget. See, a lot of things have changed from the past. Earlier, we used to see that the budget being presented in the evening to match with the time of the London Stock Exchange. But post the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government, the time has changed. We present the budget in the morning, and to get away with the briefcase. Earlier also during the NDA time, during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's tenure, we had seen that a lot of finance minister coming out with the briefcase, but that also has been left behind. Now Nirmala Sitharaman comes out with the Bahi Khata. She in fact said that the Bahi Khata had been stitched by her aunt, and her aunt emboldened the national symbol on the Bahi Khata, and the aunt gave her the Bahi Khata after visiting the Siddhivinayak temple. So a lot of things has changed as far as the finance ministry is concerned, and last year also major announcement were made focusing on the salaried and the middle class men, where tax exemption was given to a person who earns up to 12 lakh per annum. So this time around a lot of things has changed with the tariffs coming into place, with the current situation with Pakistan. So major push we are going to see in the defense sector, major push we are going to see in agricultural sector, as well as a major push for the Swadeshi made products as well. Krishna.
Sabyasachi Roy there joining us with the latest. Thank you, Sabyasachi, for bringing us that update. We take a short breather here at the stage. We'll be back with lots more on the other side. Keep it at News 9.
Special partner Skoda. You never drive alone. Associate sponsor SBI Life. अपने लिए अपनों के लिए.
इम्तियाज जी के फादर को बीमारी के कारण अचानक हॉस्पिटल में एडमिट होना पड़ा। पॉलिसी बाजार की टीम ने हॉस्पिटल पहुंचकर लाखों का क्लेम अप्रूव करवाने में पूरी हेल्प की। पॉलिसी बाजार पर 1 करोड़ का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 550 रुपए महीने से शुरू।
घर है वही जहाँ सब संग हो, रिश्तों को रंग दो, दुनिया को रंग दो।
Birla Opus Paints.
Taxes, jobs, housing, electric vehicles, defense. News9 decodes the numbers behind the noise. You define India's growth story. We decode what's in it for you. Budget 2026. No noise, no confusion. A budget for a bulletproof Bharat.
Yes, we are in Philippines.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
You're watching News 9. I'm Krishna Kumar. Senior Punjab Congress leader Dr. Navjot Kaur Sidhu has resigned from the party, triggering fresh political churn in the state. Her exit coming amidst continuous internal turmoil within the Punjab Congress and sharp political dissent against the grand old party's leadership. Dr. Sidhu, a former MLA and minister, announced her resignation on social media, citing the absence of credible leadership and direction within the organization. Her decision follows months of friction with Punjab Pradesh Congress Committee or PCC leadership and comes at a politically sensitive moment just ahead of Prime Minister's visit to Jalandhar. Soon after quitting, Dr. Sidhu launched a scathing attack on PPCC President Amrinder Singh Raja Waring, accusing him of incompetence, corruption and colluding with the ruling dispensation to weaken the Congress from within. She claimed she was targeted politically, sidelined organizationally, and deliberately undermined electorally. In a striking assertion, Dr. Sidhu said she possesses enough proof to expose those she accuses, but has chosen not to do so, stating that she has walked away from a party where no credible leadership voice remains. Her resignation has intensified speculation about the future political role of her husband, Navjot Singh Sidhu, and has raised questions about the Congress party's stability in Punjab. Now, India and the Arab League nations have laid out a broader vision for deeper two-way ties, pitched for a sovereign and viable Palestine state living side by side with Israel, and underlining the need for conducting international relations based on the UN Charter. At the second India-Arab foreign ministers' meeting, the two sides condemned cross-border terror and called on all countries to work collectively to combat terrorism, dismantle terror infrastructure and terror financing, and bring the perpetrators of terrorist acts to justice without delay. The India-hosted meeting saw the participation of 19 member countries of the Arab League, considered as an influential grouping.
The India-Arab Cooperation Forum serves as a platform to give our positive sentiments a practical shape. Our meeting will examine an agenda for such cooperation in 2026-28. It currently covers energy, environment, agriculture, tourism, human resource development, culture and education, amongst others. India looks forward to a more contemporary dimension of cooperation being included, such as digital, space, startups, innovation, etc. We'll also be contemplating working together on counter-terrorism and parliamentary exchanges. I note that we have launched the India-Arab Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture yesterday. These activities and initiatives will parallel what is happening in the bilateral domain and reinforce the bonds between us.
Thousands of people took to the streets in Manipur's capital, Imphal, to assert that the state's territorial and administrative integrity must not be divided. The rally, titled Save Manipur, was organized by the Coordinating Committee on Manipur Integrity, or COCOMI, an umbrella body of Meitei civil society groups. Protesters marched nearly 5 kilometers from the Tiddim ground to Thao ground, raising slogans against any move to divide the state. The demonstration comes amidst ongoing ethnic tensions in Manipur, following violence between valley-based Meiteis and hill-based Kuki-Zo groups. Sections of the Kuki community have been demanding a separate administrative arrangement. Since May 2023, the violence has claimed at least 260 lives and displaced thousands of people. The state has been under president's rule since February last year. During the rally, demonstrators held placards calling for the protection of Manipur's territorial unity and the resettlement of internally displaced people to their homes. The gathering also saw participation from Muslims, Nagas and other non-Meitei communities as well. Security was tightened across Manipur's capital, Imphal, to prevent any untoward incident as the rally concluded peacefully. Thousands of people taking to the streets in Manipur's capital, Imphal, to assert the state's territorial and administrative integrity. The Save Manipur rally was organized by the COCOMI, Coordinating Committee on Manipur Integrity, the umbrella body of Meitei civil society groups. Protesters marching for 5 kilometers, raising slogans and holding placards amidst ongoing ethnic tensions in Manipur, which has been under president's rule since February last year. Unidentified assailants fired 4 rounds outside the residence of filmmaker Rohit Shetty in Mumbai. Following this, heavy police security has been deployed around Rohit Shetty's residence in the Juhu area of Mumbai. It was not immediately known whether the filmmaker was at his residence during the incident. Video footage showing police activity outside the filmmaker's residence is going viral on social media. The visuals show police vehicles, barricades and officers stationed outside Rohit Shetty's house. The police are currently investigating the matter diligently and exploring every possible angle to identify the perpetrators. The motive behind the attack is still unknown, according to the Mumbai police. Amidst uncertainty in the Pakistan Cricket Board over participation in the upcoming ICC Men's T20 Cricket World Cup and ongoing talk of boycotting the marquee India fixture scheduled for February 15th, age group teams from both nations are set to collide on the global stage in the ICC Under-19 World Cup in Zimbabwe, reminding the cricketing world that sport often runs ahead of politics. In the Super 6 stage clash in Bulawayo in Zimbabwe, will see significant high stakes as the winner locks in a semi-final berth. India have powered their way through the competition, highlighted by an emphatic 204-run win over co-host Zimbabwe in their most recent outing, with Vihan Malhotra anchoring the innings and the bowling unit relentlessly on top. Meanwhile, Pakistan's under-19 boys have kept pace, cruising past both Zimbabwe and New Zealand with disciplined bowling and key performances, most notably an unbeaten 74 from Samir Minas. Pakistan's preparations were dented after wicketkeeper batter Mohammad Shayan was ruled out due to injury. The Pakistan Cricket Board has named Abdul Qadir as a replacement. The two traditional rivals also met in the ACC Under-19 Asia Cup last December. India claimed one victory in the group stage before Pakistan delivered a commanding performance to win the finals, underscoring the unpredictability and intensity this fixture can produce. With semi-final qualification on the line, this clash promises fierce competition and standout young talent, a defining moment for both teams in this World Cup. Keeping it with cricket, Ishan Kishan unleashed a firebrand century as Arshdeep Singh bagged a 5-wicket haul, and India sent a roaring warning to their T20 World Cup rivals. A thumping 46-run win over New Zealand in the 5th T20 International seals the 5-match series 4-1 as India surge into World Cup mode. India march ahead, brimming with confidence after overpowering New Zealand in Thiruvananthapuram. And make no mistake, this was more than just a victory. This was a statement of intent. Batting first at the Greenfield Stadium in Thiruvananthapuram, the capital of Kerala, India turned the night into a batting spectacle. Leading the charge was Ishan Kishan. Fearless, fluent and utterly relentless, Kishan dismantled the New Zealand bowling, launching 10 massive sixes on his way to a breathtaking century, powering India to a towering 271 for 5. Skipper Surya Kumar Yadav brought his signature flair to the crease, blazing his way to a 30-ball 63 packed with 4s and 6 sixes. Hardik Pandya piled on the pace. With just a couple of hours left to go before the Union Budget 2026 is presented, all eyes are on Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman as she prepares to present her 9th consecutive budget in the Parliament. The focus this year is clear: keeping India in the economic sweet spot of strong growth with controlled inflation, even as global uncertainty rises amidst geopolitical tensions and fresh trade disruptions from the United States of America. Jobs and growth are expected to headline this budget, with the government likely to double down on spending in infrastructure as private investment remains muted. The centre has already stepped in with a sharp rise in capital expenditure, and more support for manufacturing, exports and logistics is on the cards. For taxpayers, modest but meaningful relief could come through a higher standard deduction under the new tax regime and the possibility of joint income tax filing for couples. On the fiscal front, the government is expected to signal discipline by shifting attention to the debt-to-GDP ratio, while staying on track for medium-term consolidation. Agriculture, artificial intelligence, and electric mobility are seen as major thrust areas, with expectations of higher rural income support. A big push for the Bharat AI mission and fresh momentum for EV adoption. The budget process itself reflects a new era, moving out of North Block to Kartavya Bhavan, underscoring both continuity and change.
Our nation's tremendous potential for greater prosperity and global positioning under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. As we complete the first quarter of the 21st century, continuing geopolitical headwinds suggest lower global economic growth over the medium term. However, our aspiration for a Viksit Bharat inspires us, and the transformative work we have done during our government's first 2 terms guides us to march forward resolutely.
How do we balance?
Our economy is the fastest growing among all major economies. Our development track record for the past 10 years and structural reforms have drawn global attention. Confidence in India's capability and potential has only grown in this period. We see the next 5 years as a unique opportunity to realize Sabka Vikas, stimulating balanced growth of all regions. The great Telugu poet and playwright Gurujana Apparao had said, Deshamante Matti Kadoi, Deshamante Manushalo, meaning a country is not just its soil, a country is its people. In line with this, for us, Viksit Bharat encompasses zero poverty, 100% quality good school education, and a badly drafted quality, affordable and comprehensive health care, 100% skilled labor with meaningful employment, 70% women in economic activities, and farmers making our country the food basket of the world. In this budget, the proposed development measures span 10 broad areas, focusing on Garib, Youth, Annadata, and Nari, spurring agricultural growth and productivity, building rural prosperity and resilience, taking everyone together on an inclusive growth path, boosting manufacturing and furthering Make in India, supporting MSMEs, enabling employment-led development, investing in people, economy and innovation, securing energy supplies, promoting exports and nurturing innovation.
Only one message.
For this journey of development, our 4 powerful engines are agriculture, MSME, investments and exports. The fuel, our reforms, our guiding spirit, inclusivity, and the destination, Viksit Bharat. This budget aims to initiate transformative reforms across 6 domains. During the first 5 years, these will augment our growth potential and global competitiveness. The domains are taxation, power sector, urban development, mining, financial sector, and regulatory reforms. Agriculture as the first engine. Now I move to specific proposals, beginning with agriculture as the first engine.
One is that the modality that Supreme Court has
Prime Minister Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, developing agri-districts program. Motivated by the success of the aspirational district program, our government will undertake a Prime Minister Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana in partnership with states. Through the convergence of existing schemes and specialized measures, the program will cover 100 districts with low productivity, moderate crop intensity, and below average credit parameters. It aims to 1. Enhance agricultural productivity, 2.
in case of the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBCs,
adopt crop diversification and sustainable agricultural practices, 3. Augment post-harvest storage at the panchayat and block level, 4. Improve irrigation facilities, and 5. Facilitate availability of long-term and short-term credit. This program is likely to help 1.7 crore farmers.
upper caste think that they can do
Building
everything
rural
and get
prosperity and resilience.
Whether
A comprehensive multi-sectoral rural prosperity and resilience program will be launched in partnership with the states. This will address underemployment in agriculture through skilling, investment, technology, and invigorating the rural economy. The goal is to generate ample opportunities in rural areas so that migration is an option but not a necessity. The program will focus on rural women, young farmers, rural youth, marginal and small farmers, and landless families. The details are in Annexure A. Global domestic best practices will be incorporated, and appropriate technical and financial assistance will be sought from multilateral development banks. In Phase 1, 100 developing agri-districts will be covered. Atmanirbharta in pulses. Our government is implementing the National Mission for Edible Oilseed for achieving Atmanirbharta in edible oils. Our farmers have the capability to grow enough for our needs and more. 10 years ago, we made concerted efforts and succeeded in achieving near self-sufficiency in pulses. Farmers responded to the need by increasing the cultivated area by 50%, and government arranged for procurement and remunerative prices. Since then, with rising incomes and better affordability, our consumption of pulses has increased significantly.
That talks about gender discrimination.
Our government will now launch a 6-year mission for Atmanirbharta in pulses with a special focus on Tuar, Urad and Masoor. Details are in Annexure B. Central agencies such as NAFED and NCCF will be ready to procure these 3 pulses as much as offered during the next 4 years from farmers who register with these agencies and enter into agreements.
Not even Ashokji.
Comprehensive program for vegetables and fruits. It is encouraging that our people are increasingly becoming aware of their nutritional needs. It is a sign of a society becoming healthier. With rising income levels, the consumption of vegetables, fruits, and Shri Anna is increasing significantly. The comprehensive program to promote production, efficient supplies, processing, and remunerative prices for farmers will be launched in partnership with the states. Appropriate institutional mechanisms for implementation and participation of farmer producer organizations and cooperatives will be set up. Makhana board in Bihar. For this, there is a special opportunity for the people of Bihar. A Makhana board will be established in the state to improve production, processing, value addition, and marketing of Makhana.
And for that, these regulations
the people engaged in these activities will be organized into FPOs. The board will provide hand-holding and training support to Makhana farmers and will also work to ensure they receive the benefits of all relevant government schemes. A national mission on high-yielding seeds will be launched, aimed at 1. Strengthening research ecosystem, 2. Targeted development and propagation of seeds with high yield, pest resistance, and climate resilience, and 3. Commercial availability of more than 100 seed varieties released since July 2024. India ranks second largest globally in fish production and aquaculture. Seafood exports are valued at 60,000 crore rupees. To unlock the untapped potential of the marine sector, our government will bring in an enabling framework for sustainable harnessing of fisheries from Indian exclusive economic zone and high seas, with a special focus on the Andaman and Nicobar and Lakshadweep islands. For the benefit of lakhs of cotton growing farmers, I am pleased to announce a mission for cotton productivity. This 5-year mission will facilitate significant improvements in productivity and sustainability of cotton farming and promote extra long staple cotton varieties. The best of science and technology support will be provided to farmers. Aligned with our integrated 5F vision for the textile sector, this will help in increasing incomes of the farmers and ensure a steady supply of quality cotton for rejuvenating India's traditional textile sector.
So these were the 4 things.
What people look out for. We're also going to be looking out for the big policy moves, the direction in which our economic policy, our budget is going to take us for the next 1 year. Remember, it's been a very difficult year geopolitically, Krishna, with so many upheavals in the last 1 year. The budget will have to, of course, ensure that there is steadiness going forward, and that would be the expectation, a steady fiscal policy. Prudence is what we're expecting right now.
Yeah, and of course growth as well, because so many questions on whether India will be able to keep up its momentum, because bear in mind we still are the fastest growing major economy in the world with growth rates in excess of 7%, touching 7.5%. Very important to keep that momentum going. Big day coming up. Union budget set to be presented at 11 a.m. Bear in mind, so we're less than 2 hours away from that all important, and very different this time around, Shweta, because usually North Block is where all the budget activity is. Complete change of traditions this time around. Kartavya Bhavan is where it's going to be presented. We already are aware of the Bahi Khata, or the red color ledger which the finance minister carries. Visuals on our screens of the finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman reaching Kartavya Bhavan, and of course the Sansad Bhavan is where finally the budget is going to be presented. So all eyes are on that. Bear in mind the industry is calling for stronger policy support, as she was talking about GST rationalization. Experts are talking about complete they're ruling out any changes to income tax slabs, because bear in mind that's already done last year, isn't it, Shweta? This time around only the standard deduction is probably where the focus is on, isn't it?
Absolutely. So there's of course an expectations that from people at large that perhaps there'll be more money in their hands. Now, will it be by the way of income tax changes? That's unlikely. That's at least what the industry bodies are saying right now. So there may not be a lot of rejig as far as income tax slabs is concerned, but the expectations are high because this has largely been consumption-driven growth in the last 1 year. That's what the economic surveys also pointed out. How will India ensure that momentum in consumption? I think that's going to be an important policy move to look out for.
Very, very important policy moves to look out for as far as the income tax is concerned. Of course, Shweta, interesting, isn't it? A lot of expectations this time around artificial intelligence and the thrust for artificial intelligence. And of course, one of your favorite subjects, which is electric vehicle adoption as well. This time around, so much focus on what they are going to do, the government is going to do in terms of policy, allocating money. There is a Bharat AI mission that's going to come up in this month. It's the 1st of February. It's coming up this month, isn't it? So AI and EV adoption, very important focus areas as far as this budget is concerned, isn't it, Shweta?
Absolutely. So the understanding is that we are looking at long-term growth, but also sustainable growth. So while there have been conversations around AI, and that featured in the economic survey as well, the expectation is that the larger focus is going to be on people, on environment, on how to contain obesity. I mean, that also was a conversation in the economic survey for the first time. So I think the priorities are fast shifting, Krishna, and I think the budget policy document should reflect that.
Let's talk to somebody to begin to set context before we welcome all our guests. Let's talk to somebody who's been seeing budgets for decades now. We have Rakesh Khar with us in the studio. Rakesh ji, we're also being joined by some guests, but before we go to all our guests, we have our very own colleagues Rakesh Khar and Kartik Malhotra with us, who's going to be taking on budget programming in just a short while from now. I'm going to begin with Rakesh. Kartik, I'll hold on to you for a bit. Rakesh ji, when was the last time we had budget talking, possible expectations on obesity, electric vehicle adoption, artificial intelligence? These are subjects that were alien to the budget. But before I come to you, the Bahi Khata that we were talking about.
Much awaited shots there of the Bahi Khata, which is now in a tablet, as a matter of fact. So as I said, forms have changed.
This is the e-Bahi Khata.
It's the e-Bahi Khata. The forms have changed. It's digital today. The names have changed, the forms have changed, but I think the traditions continue there.
Oh yeah, fantastic visuals. Every single time this visual comes, the hopes in the hearts and minds of people watching this goes up, isn't it, Rakesh Jina? What is going to be inside that red color Bahi Khata? But I'm just curious, we've seen budgets over decades right now. Obesity, electric vehicle adoption, artificial intelligence, these are subjects completely alien to the budget, isn't it?
Absolutely. Good morning, Shweta and Krishna. I think, it's phenomenal that the budget is trying to keep track of, the changing political and social polity in terms of changing landscapes. And we are happy that it's being able to capture, challenges and opportunities in these domains. But it's also possibly an attempt to connect budget with the larger, mass population, because, generally there's a view that budget is boring. It doesn't impact people directly. It's more for the economists and more for the educated elite. In that sense, this particular budget, there are a lot of expectations with AI already being talked about in the economic survey. But, these are intents, so we'll have to see how exactly they match in terms of the outcomes and what are the outlays and outcomes in the budget. Interesting, see, Krishna, budget is a big media event. Let's face the reality and put budget in context. Most of the big ticket policy decisions are generally in the last 20 years, more so last 10 years, have been taken outside of the ambit of the budget. So in that sense, budget has lost much of its relevance in terms of being a policy document. Okay. But still it remains a big ticket accounting statement, and also it carries forward the intention of the government in terms of the reform agenda. That's what I am personally looking at. My first budget was the historic budget 1991. The Manmohan Singh budget, that was my first stint with the budget, being a young reporter.
Oh, what a budget to begin your career with.
Absolutely. So, as I said, that is the reason possibly I'm saying, with Lavender, it's lost much of its steam.
It's not the same as it was, but the excitement is also palpable, Karthik. I mean, you've been tracking what's to come in the budget. There is a long wish list as far as various sectors is concerned. But what exactly are you eyeing this budget should cater to?
Yeah, so I think before I answer that, Rakesh sir had the momentous 1991 budget to start his career. The first budget that I covered was 2004. And this was soon after the elections, and the dream team, if you remember, Rakesh.
That's right.
We had Montek Singh Ahluwalia, Planning Commission, we had Mohan Singh Prime Minister, and P. Chidambaram as the Finance Minister. So
historic.
But the visuals on the screen right now are the dream team and the budget makers. We have the Revenue Secretary, we have the Expenditure Secretary, we have, the MOS Finance, we have the Chief Economic Advisor. So this is pretty much the budget team, and I think, it's a little late now to try and second guess what is in that budget. But technically, what should be in that budget, I think, the priorities of the government need to be fairly clear. And I think, some of that is coming through expression, whether it's the economic survey that we've seen, or all the conversations that experts are having around the budget. I think three critical areas stand out for me. And while we can discuss AI, we can discuss obesity, we can discuss health, but I think number one priority of the government is to have a flight path for the debt to GDP ratio to really come down to 50%. I think that is a big priority for the government right now. We need to ensure that the debt to GDP in the economy comes down. Now, along with that, and I'm calling it the impossible trinity. So there are three aspects here. So first is a reduction in the debt to GDP. Second is job creation. So you need to ensure that there are more jobs created in the economy. Now, who's going to ensure that? Is it going to be the union budget? Is it going to be state budgets? Or is the onus going to be on the private sector to create jobs? So in the impossible trinity, debt to GDP ratio, then job creation, and the third is a boost to exports. We need to ensure that our export competitiveness continues to rise, and that can happen, of course, by incentivizing the private sector, but also reducing the compliance burden, the regulatory compliance burden on MSMEs, who in any case have been battered by the US tariffs.
All right, so exports, obviously one of the key areas that India will be focusing on. Rakesh, I'm very surprised, Karthik, the first two that he brought up was debt to GDP and unemployment, because those are very contentious issues, largely not talked about. The numbers are often, even in economic survey for that matter, deep within the policy documents, very hard to decipher. But there's been a lot of conversation on unemployment, because, poverty, unemployment, inequality, those continue to be some of the challenges and roadblocks that India faces. So before I come to your wish list, and I know you have those 9 points, 9 things that you want from the budget, let's talk a little bit about unemployment, because even as we say, India continues to be the beacon of hope, one of the fastest growing major economies in the world, clocking a 7.4% growth rate in financial year 26, according to economic survey. The budget document today, Nirmala Sitharaman, could suggest about 7.9 to 8%. That's what we've achieved in the first quarter. But, all of these are just numbers. until we attain enough equality in this country. And various data points in the last 1 year pointing to the fact that inequality seems to be a distant dream when 10% of India earns about 60% of its income.
Absolutely. I think, the government is seized of this challenge, and these are very vexed problems that India faces. What we call jobless growth, not enough growth for Indian youth who are educated, converting our demographic dividend into a demographic liability. In terms of being cognizant of the challenge, I think this government is seized of the but the big ticket solutions, are they forthcoming? Not really. We've been struggling with this for the last about 10 years. Every budget we've been, so to say, touching this and skirting this issue of unemployment. There was this ELI scheme last year, but of course it hasn't really grown to the level it was expected.
We have no idea how much it's grown.
No, there are numbers floating from 10,000 to 1 lakh.
That's right, but not enough numbers, not enough data there.
Shweta, we'll have to be, it's not easy. There is no, overnight button that we push and then we'll have employment in this country. It links back, as I mentioned in my wish list, to reforms on land and labor. So there is need for capital in the private sector to kick in, which has not happened in the last 10 years in the proportion it should have happened. Government, right from independence onwards, has a stated inability to give as much jobs as there are required. So in that sense, that is a challenge. But before we come to the deep dive into the potential provisions in the budget, I thought we must flag a couple of things. One, that this budget is for the first time without a full-fledged finance secretary.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we also have an economic affairs secretary who's also looking at the budget division, Anuradha, if I got the name right.
Anuradha Thakur.
Anuradha Thakur. So in that sense, the women Shakti, Nari Shakti driving it. And a word about Nirmala Sitharaman. She's quite understated if you see. We have had some flashy finance minister like Chidambaram. He did some great budget. The dream budget belongs to him. But she's been very mature and calm, and she's got 3 big ticket decisions to her credit. That is GST reforms as recent as September. Then she got the income tax, the biggest reform in personal income tax happened in the last budget. And then before that, she brought about the corporate tax cut. So when we review finance ministers of this country, say 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line, Nirmala Sitharaman, whether you like it or not, will go as one very, very powerful minister who, left her imprint on the political economy map of this country.
And 9 budgets back to back, who can beat that?
One little, because Chidambaram also has done 9 budget, but that does not include an interim budget.
Absolutely.
She has an interim budget.
Budget too.
So, and we don't, we hope that next year again she's there on the, with the Bahi Khata that she has. So she'll have the record matching
so 7 full budgets, 2 interim budgets, and that makes her, at par. That brings her at par with the Chidambaram.
All I can say is that every time there's a budget, especially the last decade or so, or the next decade and a half, as a Tamilian, I'm just like, heck, it happens that every single time there's a P. Chidambaram or a Nirmala Sitharaman presenting budget. I always look forward to the quotes from ancient Tamil poetry that comes in the budget speeches, which both Chidambaram and Nirmala Sitharaman have been doing. So it's fascinating.
And Tamil Nadu going into polls, Krishna, so I think all the more reason that this year it is going to start with a Tamil poem, or maybe Bengali for all you know.
Could be both. Could be both.
Could be both.
Or Malayalam for that matter. I mean, how are you understanding?
No, I would say that too, because Puducherry and Tamil Nadu both speak Tamil, so there's still a majority in this Tamil who's going to poll. But it's a great time, Shweta, to invite all the guests who have taken their precious time out to be with us here on this special Budget Day broadcast. Mr. O.P. Yadav, former Principal Commissioner Income Tax, thank you for taking time out to be with us here in the studio. We're also being joined by Lloyd Matthias, angel investor, who joins us on the line. Thank you, Lloyd, for being with us. I'm going to come to you, Lloyd, in just a second before I first take it across to our special guest in the studio. Mr. O.P. Yadav, budget days are always special. The context has changed. The expectations have changed. One thing doesn't change. No matter how much you relax income tax slabs, people will stay. How much can it go down even further? Isn't it? That expectation doesn't go away.
So now, income tax, we have seen the reforms, and we have seen the Income Tax Act 2025 is coming into effect from 1/4/2026.
That's right.
Now there is another important aspect that still the rule have to notify
the nation's tremendous potential for greater prosperity and global positioning under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi.
And that there is no need for state.
As we complete the first quarter of the the 21st century, continuing geopolitical headwinds suggest lower global economic growth over the medium term. However, our aspiration for a Viksit Bharat inspires us, and the transformative work we have done during our government's first 2 terms guides us to march forward resolutely.
How do we balance?
Our economy is the fastest growing among all major economies. Our development track record for the past 10 years and structural reforms have drawn global attention. Confidence in India's capability and potential has only grown in this period. We see the next 5 years as a unique opportunity to realize Sabka Vikas, stimulating balanced growth of all regions. The great Telugu poet and playwright Gurujana Apparao had said, Deshamante Matti Kado, Deshamante Manushadu, meaning a country is not just its soil, a country is its people. In line with this, for us, Viksit Bharat encompasses zero poverty, 100% quality good school education,
and a
access
badly
to
drafted
high
justice
quality,
can cause more
affordable
harm
and comprehensive
than
health
no
care,
justice at all.
100% skilled labor with meaningful employment, 70% women in economic activities, and farmers making our country the food basket of the world. In this budget, the proposed development measures span 10 broad areas focusing on Garib, Youth, Annadata and Nari, spurring agricultural growth and productivity, building rural prosperity and resilience, taking everyone together on an inclusive growth path, boosting manufacturing and furthering Make in India, supporting MSMEs, enabling employment-led development, investing in people, economy and innovation, securing energy supplies, promoting exports and nurturing innovation.
Only one message.
For this journey of development, our 4 powerful engines are agriculture, MSME, investments and exports. The fuel, our reforms, our guiding spirit, inclusivity, and the destination, Viksit Bharat. This budget aims to initiate transformative reforms across 6 domains. During the first 5 years, these will augment our growth potential and global competitiveness. The domains are taxation, power sector, urban development, mining, financial sector and regulatory reforms. Agriculture as the first engine. Now I move to specific proposals, beginning with agriculture as the first engine.
One is that the modality that Supreme Court has
Prime Minister Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, developing agri-districts program. Motivated by the success of the aspirational district program, our government will undertake a Prime Minister Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana in partnership with states. Through the convergence of existing schemes and specialized measures, the program will cover 100 districts with low productivity, moderate crop intensity, and below average credit parameters. It aims to 1. Enhance agricultural productivity, 2.
in case of the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBCs,
adopt crop diversification and sustainable agricultural practices, 3. Augment post-harvest storage at the panchayat and block level, 4. Improve irrigation facilities, and 5. Facilitate availability of long-term and short-term credit. This program is likely to help 1.7 crore farmers.
The upper caste thing that they can do
building rural prosperity and resilience. A comprehensive multi-sectoral rural prosperity and resilience program will be launched in partnership with the states. This will address underemployment in agriculture through skilling, investment, technology, and invigorating the rural economy. The goal is to generate ample opportunities in rural areas so that migration is an option but not a necessity. The program will focus on rural women, young farmers, rural youth, marginal and small farmers, and landless families. The details are in Annexure A. Global domestic best practices will be incorporated, and appropriate technical and financial assistance will be sought from multilateral development banks. In phase 1, 100 developing agri-districts will be covered. Atmanirbharta in pulses. Our government is implementing the National Mission for Edible Oilseed for achieving Atmanirbharta in edible oils. Our farmers have the capability to grow enough for our needs and more. 10 years ago, we made concerted efforts and succeeded in achieving near self-sufficiency in pulses. Farmers responded to the need by increasing the cultivated area by 50%, and government arranged for procurement and remunerative prices. Since then, with rising incomes,
tax rationalization. And of course, it wasn't for the super rich, it was for the people at large to boost consumption. I do think they might tinker it. That is my sense. And I really don't think that's one of the big imperatives. I think if I were to list out kind of the big things that are likely to happen or should happen, I think the focus on growth and consumption, boosting consumption, I think that is important. And that will happen on the back of macro stability. That, in a sense, has been provided to a large extent, almost obviating the pressures on the tariffs that have come about, right? India has still grown. So I think that has been one big thing. The second that I personally would like to see, and I certainly think we have a long way to go, is suddenly over the last 2 or 3 years, that ease of doing business has receded in the background. Earlier, it was a big call out. And then, of course, there was some issue about the rankings being manipulated. I think we've got a long way to go when it comes to ease of doing business. I hope and pray that the finance minister really works back at that critical aspect, really making the whole issue of burdens, compliances, reduce the whole, really kind of push forward on that front, really ease of doing business. I think that's very important. I also think there is a fair degree of need for MSME support. Well, at one level, we're talking of PLIs for manufacturing, and that's a long process. And I believe the needle is moving and is positive. But I think supporting MSMEs, I think that is a big area in terms of both kicking off employment, but also boosting consumption. I think that is one of the critical aspects. So that's really, in a sense, both my wish list and my hope for the budget.
Okay, fair enough. Stay with us. We also are being joined by Nitin Gupta, co-founder and CEO of Atero, with us very soon. We also have Sabyasachi Roy, in fact, with us, joining us live on the broadcast as well. Sabyasachi, talk to us. Now, all eyes are on Kartavya Bhavan, isn't it? You were there earlier in the morning, waiting outside Nirmala Sitharaman's residence, and now here you are. Talk to us. Where exactly are you, and what is the latest update can you give us?
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman did a photo op with MOS Pankaj Chaudhary and the other members from the Finance Ministry. Now, post the photo op, the Finance Minister will now head towards Rashtrapati Bhavan, where she will meet the President, and post that she will head towards the Parliament, where first she will meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Then the Cabinet meeting will take place, where the Cabinet will give approval to the budget, and post that the budget will be presented inside the House. And at around 2:30 is the time when Nirmala Sitharaman, the Finance Minister, will hold a press conference. Now, the war awards have already started, Krishna, where the opposition continuously targeting the Finance Minister and the central government. The opposition already claiming that they does not have any hope from the budget 2026, as once again they are making claims that there is severe unemployment across the country, and they demand clarity as far as the negotiations that is going on between India and the United States, and what is the current status of the negotiation, because the opposition is saying that it is embarrassing for the country with the repeated claims that are being made by US President Donald Trump. Krishna.
US President Donald Trump, as far as, he being responsible for intervening in that so-called war or supposed war between India and Pakistan, that continues to be a point of conversation. But Trump overall, Vivek Kumar, has dominated headlines for the past 1 year by the way of his ever-changing policies. Now, when it comes to India, and the headline numbers look very good. In fact, we were also looking at export and import numbers, and exports, despite all the uncertainty, continue to rise, at least in volume. I want to talk about imports, for a minute, because it does look like imports have surged about 8.8% year on year in the past, 9 months of financial year 2026. And the current account deficit is also rising. If you look at December numbers itself, is that something to worry about? Although imports are largely now being driven by non-oil imports, largely by gold imports. Gold continues to be a favorite of Indians all across. Is that something that's responsible for the increase in current account deficit? And are you worried about the numbers?
Hi, good morning. And thank you for having me on the show. Now, as far as current account gap is concerned, I think we need to keep few things in mind. What is the usual marker for comfort? And from that perspective, the 1.5 to 2 percentage points of GDP is normally considered to be a sustainable level of current account gap for India. And from that perspective, if one has to judge how is the current situation panning out, then yes, there is a slight amount of widening. But current account gap is still kind of tracking 1.2, 1.3% run rate. So from a historical context, I think the problem does not lie in the current account gap. The problem for India's macroeconomic external stability is essentially coming from the capital flow side rather than the current account. So current account, we are still doing good. Yes, there has been a widening vis-a-vis the previous financial year, but our historical performance suggests that anything which is less than 1.5 percentage points of GDP is a stable level of current account gap for India's economy, which is emerging by nature, which tends to spend much more on capex, etc. So I would be less worried on the current account than on the capital account, where probably the current stress is centering.
As we continue to get you the latest visuals, so Shweta, interesting, trivia coming in. We are showing visuals of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman holding the red color Bahi Khata outside Kartavya Bhavan. We have some interesting details on the sari that she is wearing this time around. It's a hand-woven Kanjivaram silk sari from her home state of Tamil Nadu. It's the colored Kattam Kanjivaram. Kattam in Tamil means square. So you can see the squares that are there on her sari as the design. So, it's not the first time. It's, she's been championing the country's, handlooms and, country's arts and crafts, from Mangalgiri and Ikkat to, Madhubani. She's been, showcasing everything. So you can't blame her that just because she is from Tamil Nadu, she's wearing a Kanjivaram this time around, isn't it? But at the end of the day, Kanjivaram is a richly regarded legacy of our country, and it's great messaging as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's more to do with the fact that she's representing India on a global stage today. I mean, all eyes are going to be on India, on her, so she knows that. And I think proudly showing her culture, her heritage, and she looks good.
Absolutely.
If I may end it at that.
Rakesh ji, again, the messaging in these things, as you said, it's formal. It's just a statement of accounts. What can be expected? It's a very regular thing. But the messaging like this really talks about the intent of the government, the intent of the finance minister, isn't it? In terms of the direction that the country is going in. Saving and making and the proliferation of Indian arts and crafts and handloom is something that this government has been talking about for the last decade, and that is represented even on budget day in the form of what the finance minister is wearing.
And I have to say this is also a conversation the Prime Minister's had recently after India-EU deal, saying now you've got a bigger market, larger market, make for them.
Absolutely. I think, remember, whether it's the finance minister or the Prime Minister or the leader of the opposition, they're essentially politicians. So, from the textbook, whatever they do, every word they utter the dress they wear, they make political messaging. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's very good. We must celebrate that.
That's right.
And in the era of social media, everything is a message. So in that sense,
everything is dissected.
Everything is dissected.
Everything
like
is
we're doing this.
from a microscopic
But I mean, going back to 1990, when nobody talked about in the newsroom
what turban he was wearing,
what turban color was he wearing, and what dress he was. He was wearing a safari, if I remember correctly. But absolutely important to do this messaging, because at the end of it, for the mass majority who don't quickly, initiate whatever is said in the budget, these things are extremely important. And then Tamil Nadu is indeed going to polls.
Well, Tamil Nadu going to polls. Kanjivaram sari on display. Those are latest visuals, in fact, on our screens of India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman meeting India's President Draupadi Murmu. The doors are being opened, in the President's office. There you go. Latest visuals coming in of India's President Draupadi Murmu.
And talk about messaging there.
Nari
Two
Shakti.
very powerful women.
Yeah.
One the finance minister, the other the president of this country.
Yeah.
And both women. I think that's going to be a picture that's going to go down in the history books as a country that put female in power, in leadership positions.
Absolutely. Again,
I mean, we had, Shweta, 6 cabinet ministers in 2014 for the first time in history of independent India. 6 full-fledged cabinet ministers as women. And the number has come down briefly, but it's very important to have important women leaders both in the centre and in states. We have powerful leaders in Mamata Banerjee, and we must all be very happy about it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, interesting that you cut across political lines when you're talking about women's representation, leadership. It's absolutely, and that's the kind of country that we are. It's this meeting that you're witnessing on your screens, after which the finance minister will eventually go and present the budget. Bear in mind, we're an hour and 30 minutes away from the presentation of the budget. We're counting down to that currently. After leaving her residence about a half an hour, not half an hour, but an hour
About
ago.
an hour ago, and she was early. Early than expected, and that's of course the finance minister of the country in conversation there with the president, her entire team. She's flanked by her entire team. And
I would
those
love
are
to be a fly on the wall in this room.
and just perhaps to hear that conversation, I think that would be interesting. But also joining us on the show is Nitin Gupta, co-founder, CEO, Atero. He's with us here in the studios. Thank you very much, sir. Your company deals with e-waste, recycling e-waste, and that has been also a conversation that this country is increasingly having. As we grow, as we move towards sustainability, and as we enhance the use of AI in our lives, the use of everything electronics, the conversation around how to dispose that electronics also continues to be a point of concern, especially by the way of how we deal with our environment. We are becoming increasingly conscious, and the choices are also reflecting in that consciousness. Tell us about how the industry has been doing in the past 1 year, and what sort of growth and momentum are you expecting in the year to go ahead?
Yeah, so Shweta, just a point of clarification there. The electronic waste recycling industry in general is very critical for the critical minerals sector in particular as well, right? So in India today, we import almost every single metal, and China is the biggest exporter for India. It's extremely important that we become Atmanirbhar in majority of these metals that we need for our defense procurements, for our EV sector, for our energy requirements, come what may, right? So recycling plays a very critical role in that aspect. The industry has been growing 100% year on year over the last few years. The government of India has been 100%. The government of India has been providing pretty solid incentive mechanisms. In the last budget, they announced a National Critical Minerals Mission, which is like a 32,000 crore mission. We are expecting this year the sort of momentum will continue. The government will continue to give fiscal incentives to the industry, will continue to do GST rationalization for the industry, and will make sure that India becomes self-reliant on these critical minerals.
Okay. And you're saying there's been enough and more policy help by the government, and 100% growth rate has been observed in the last 1 year. Are you looking at that number perhaps even going up as we adopt more EVs?
Absolutely.
As we move towards, in making more chips in this country, importing more critical minerals, do you think that number is only going to go up from here?
Absolutely. See, basically, Shweta, critical minerals are required in every walk of life, right? Whether your refrigerator, to your EV, to your space station. And for that purpose, this industry is a fundamental requirement for the country. It has to grow much faster, and it has to continue to grow over a long period of time.
Right, so the number likely to only go up, 100% growth rate there as far as e-waste is concerned and the recycling is concerned. So I think that also is a precursor to where India's economy is going when it comes to adopting more, critical minerals related technology, AI, chip making,
all kinds of
EVs,
advanced and emerging technologies.
All advanced emerging technologies, and perhaps that will also decide the future of this country. That's the policy move in which the country is moving forward. Right. But we're going to take a very short break here on the show. We'll be back with more. We're of course tracking that mega budget, a budget for Bulletproof Bharat here on News9. We'll be back in just a bit.
टाटा कैपिटल बिजनेस लोन के साथ इन्होंने की बिजनेस एक्सपेंशन की जिद पूरी।
Special partner Skoda. You never drive alone. Associate sponsor SBI Life. अपने लिए अपनों के लिए।
रिश्तों को रंग दो, दुनिया को रंग दो।
Birla Opus Paints.
Windows down, chasing dreams on a net.
With Skoda Supercare and growing network across 180 plus cities, you never drive alone.
Skoda.
Taxes, jobs, housing, electric vehicles, defense. News9 decodes the numbers behind the noise. You define India's growth story. We decode what's in it for you. Budget 2026. No noise, no confusion. A budget for a bulletproof Bharat.
You're watching Budget for Bulletproof Bharat here on News9. We're continuing our build-up to the all-important budget speech, which is about an hour and 20 minutes away from us. So we are being joined by some very special guests this morning, isn't it, Shweta? We have Lloyd Matthias, angel investor. We have Vivek Kumar, economist, Quant Eco. We have Nitin Gupta, co-founder and CEO of Atero, and Mr. O.P. Yadav, former principal commissioner of income tax, all with us on the broadcast.
Rakesh Kar continues to
be
with us.
And of course, our very own Rakesh Kar continues to be with us in the studios as well.
Rakesh, let's come to that wish list now. I think you've worked very hard. It's your wish list. You've tracked budgets for many, many years. What are you expecting from this budget?
Well, I think, I put about 9 items. My first and foremost point is that the current environment, both the current environment, both politically and economically for India, is very, very strong to launch the real reforms that we've been talking about. Normally, India has a history of doing reforms when there's adversity. 1991, and the latest is EU FTA deal. It was triggered by the tariff tantrums of Donald Trump. It's been there since 2007. But now here's a historic occasion where we have everything right. Fundamentally our macros are straight, and in comparison to the rest of the world, our placement is very strong. So this is the best time to launch reforms.
Right.
So my first push is essentially for nudging the private sector to up its capex. Government of India has been, after the corporate tax cut, we have had been pushing the private sector, but there isn't a reciprocating response from them, whatever be the reasons. Now that we have an expanded market globally, there is an export capability. So I think the argument of the private sector that there isn't enough demand with EU FTA trade happening, with the UK happening, I think there is greater scope in terms of the identification of the market. So I'm asking for the government not to play the police inspector, but at least audit the stated and announced projects by big ticket corporates. What is the status of those in terms of the capex launch? That's point number one. Point number two is that the 2 big ticket reforms which were rolled back despite the unprecedented political mandate, the farm law and the land reforms. Land reforms in the first term, Sood ki Sarkar, and then farm law because of the politicization of that. Remember, there is a lot of merit in bringing about those reforms. There is always talk of greater stakeholder management and engagement. We can launch that 6 months of stakeholder management, but go back and do those reforms. Coincidentally, what has happened is that power sector utilities, which were essentially in the dump for so many years, some of them, about 8 states have shown recovery there. So there is a historic opportunity again, Shweta and Krishna, to launch farmers like individuals. There are individual tax slabs. So we need to identify farmers. There are rich farmers who need not necessarily get free electricity.
Right.
So, you know, if you want state electricity boards to function on their own feet, then we need to be a little more reformist about that. Some state boards have done it, and you know, it's a burden for the states to subsidize that free. So we need to take that big ticket. But whether the finance minister will bite the bullet, he mentioned about, I'm saying we need a national, you know, critical minerals and rare earth mission, and not just a slogan or a conference statement. It needs to be really matched for outcomes. Finally, I'm saying 2014, the Prime Minister talked about reducing energy dependence by 50%. 11 years, we're still nowhere there. And we've seen the vulnerability both in terms of critical minerals and energy. And going forward, the way Venezuela is happening, Russia is under pressure, India's dependence has to come down.
That's right.
And you know, we found a solution in Russia in terms of pricing, but we don't have a solution in terms of actually improving our own output. So that should be a mission mode. And you know, FPIs are flying like, you know, they're taking the flight as if they don't like
flying
this
off
place.
India.
Flying off India. We need to bring about two things: make it a little more incentivize their stay in here, which has to endure, and most importantly, we need a very, very stable tax regime. We've seen what's happened with Tiger Capital decision on Walmart. You know, there is no need to, sovereign interests in terms of taxation are most welcome, but we have to ensure that there is no retrospective feel to it.
Right.
That undermines the confidence of global investors, and that's what we are currently facing. So I think, you know, we can go back to other three items later.
But very, very critical points. The flight of capital, what Vivek Kumar also pointed out, continues to be a point of concern. We're of course going to come back on that. Time now for a very short break. News and updates will continue. We are tracking the budget for Bulletproof Bharat. Nirmala Sitharaman all set to deliver her historic 9th budget in just a couple of minutes from now.
जब विकास जी के लिवर का ऑपरेशन हुआ तो पॉलिसी बाजार की टीम ने हॉस्पिटल पहुंचकर 50 लाख रुपए का क्लेम अप्रूव करवाने में पूरी हेल्प की। पॉलिसी बाजार पर 1 करोड़ का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 550 रुपए महीने से शुरू।
With Skoda Supercare and growing network across 180 plus cities, you never drive alone.
Skoda.
Taxes, jobs, housing, electric vehicles, defense. News9 decodes the numbers behind the noise. You define India's growth story. We decode what's in it for you. Budget 2026. No noise, no confusion. A budget for a bulletproof Bharat.
इनकी जिद ने किया डेस्टिनेशन वेडिंग का सपना सच। टाटा कैपिटल पर्सनल लोन्स के साथ।
You are watching Budget for Bulletproof Bharat here on News 9. We're continuing our lead up to the budget speech. Latest visuals over here in our big screen of India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman meeting India's President Draupadi Murmu with the red color Bahi Khata. Nirmala Sitharaman wearing traditional hand-woven Kanjivaram sari. You know, this is just from a short while ago, you know, as we continue to count down. Bear in mind, agriculture is back at the center of the policy debate, not just as a lifeline for millions of farmers, but as a stress test really for growth, climate resilience and food security. I'm going to take this across to Vivek Kumar, who continues to be with us. Vivek, you know, here you have a budget that, you know, expectations are anything from artificial intelligence, critical minerals to EV adoption, and yet here we are, agriculture. Big expectations from budget 2026 when it comes to what it's going to have in store for India's agriculture sector. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Sorry. So, yes, that's a very relevant question. I think if you look at it, what was the allocation to agriculture along with the allied sectors, because agriculture is just not agriculture. If you look at the entire primary sector, one statistic we normally refer to is that out of the total agri output, agri and allied output, the farm sector actually contributes not more than 60%. So there is a roughly 60-40 divide between the farm sector activity and the non-farm sector activity. So when we talk about agri, you probably have to look at it in the holistic picture. It's the farm plus the non-farm sector which contributes towards the rural well-being. And from just a agri perspective, the size that the size of the budget was roughly close to 1,70,000 crores. Sorry, it was not 1,70,000 crores. It was almost 17 lakh crores, if I am correct, yes. And this number for rural development was much higher. So if you look at the balance between agri and the non-agri side of the budget, it's tilted much more towards the non-agri, which I would probably take the entire rural development budget, which is of roughly of the order of 26 lakh crore. Now, that's the kind of skewness that we have with respect to budgetary allocation. There is a lot more going into the non-agri related activities vis-a-vis the pure agri related activities as far as budget allocation is concerned. Now, for this year perspective, I think what one could possibly look at for is how to insulate the farmer income from the vagaries of the climate. And when we refer to the vagaries of the climate, in the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen instances of, let's say, monsoon being almost on the dot, plus minus 5%, not more than the normal conditions, especially if you look at last 2 years. So monsoon performance has been overall very satisfactory, but there are huge gaps with respect to how the geographical spread has been, how the timing of the precipitation has been, and this leads to a lot of volatility. This is something that we saw in case it affects us from the perspective of food prices. We've seen enough volatility in food prices. This year we've been fortunate, but last year we were at the receiving end of food prices when food prices were absolutely berserk. So we need some sort of a mechanism where we can possibly insulate the farm income. It will have a repercussion for an inflation situation. It will provide stability to the farm sector income, and it could also help us create a value chain in the entire agri belt, which consists of both agri as well as the non-farm agri related activity.
Okay, fair enough. Since we're discussing agriculture, we'll continue to also get you the latest visuals. I think this is from right outside the Sansad Bhavan, where the finance minister is all set to enter. Bear in mind, we've been keeping a track of the finance minister's movement right from the time she left her residence about an hour, more than an hour ago, and then she met the president, and now she's outside the Sansad Bhavan. The entire team that has put the budget together, holding the Bahi Khata. Those are the visuals that you're seeing on your screens. But before we go any further, we're discussing agriculture and the expectations from it. Rakesh Kharji talking about the importance this time around as well. And also talking about an important point, which is taxing the rich farmers. Shweta and Lloyd, I want both of you to comment on this. Every single time there's a budget.
Right.
And I've been seeing this from the time I covered the first budget, more than 15 years ago. There's always talk of taxing the rich farmer. It is yet to happen.
It is yet to happen. On the contrary, since we're talking about agriculture, I think there's a larger conversation here at play. Last year's economic survey pointed out that the government has an ambition of creating at least 7.85 non-farm jobs. But if you look at data, Lloyd, that is emerging by the way of economic survey this year, is that the share of employment in agriculture is only rising. This goes against the stated intent of the government. Back in 2017-18, the share of employment as far as agriculture is concerned was 44%. Today it's about 46%. So on contrary to decreasing farm jobs and ensuring that people are employed in non-farming sectors, we're looking at more employment being either generated in farming sector or people taking to farming sector in absence of any other job, and that's not a good number.
Indeed, Shweta, that is a bit of a concern. But I would say that agricultural employment is in India pretty much the default option. When there is no other work option, it kind of is like a fallback, right? So what really picks up is agriculture. It's not a bottom-up number of people who are actually directly involved. A lot of that is fairly unproductive. It's that people lean back on land as the last resort. So I think that is a concern. But I'll go back to Rakesh's wish list. And I think one of the challenges, in fact, both of the challenges are around agriculture, which is a bullet very difficult to bite. The farm laws were introduced. Of course, there were protests. They got pulled back. And as Rakesh suggested, maybe one has to find a milder version and somewhere to get it back. Because that, to my mind, is a big driver of long-term reform. And to that, the other point, which I believe no government, irrespective of political capital, is willing to, kind of bite the bullet on, is really taxing the rich farmer. I think there is a widespread acknowledgement that there would be at least about a single digit, maybe 2 or 3% of farmers who truly, live the quality of life that's aspirational for every Indian, including an urban Indian. But sadly, I think the political messaging, the moment one talks about taxing farmers, irrespective of their economic status, I think that always kind of comes back to hurt the government, right? And there's too much of pressure within political circles itself. If you look at a lot of our MPs, their primary, employment, so to speak, is being a farmer. So I think that is a challenge. I know there are no easy solutions around it, but as was stated, I think India is in a fairly good position, right? Our economy is relatively stable. We're still the fastest growing economy in the world. I think there are a lot of headwinds, barring for the tariff issues. And even that, to an extent, we've managed pretty well with the Europe FTA, with that, singular arrangements with various countries. I think this could be the year for kind of establishing some of those slightly more macro reforms that sets up India for a great future.
That's as far as agriculture is concerned. We had a fairly detailed discussion on it. As we continue to get you the latest, President Draupadi Murmu feeding the finance minister some kheer, if I'm not mistaken, Shweta?
Dahi.
Dahi chini.
The traditional, customary dahi chini there being fed.
The number of customs and traditions that surround the budget.
Halwa and dahi chini.
Halwa before the budget
and dahi chini on the day of the
dahi chini on the day. It's the custom where you are wishing somebody good luck. For they have a long day and a long job to deliver, a very important job to deliver.
But as far as you're talking about obesity being mentioned in the economic survey, that some of the health studies will first say never have this much sugar on an empty stomach first thing in the morning.
You don't know whether she's empty stomach, do we?
No, that's more on the edible oil that the Prime Minister himself flagged. It's not as much on chini, though chini is as bad if not taken in regulated manner.
Yeah, fair enough. But good to have the conversation around sugar. It's incredible, isn't it? The last 1 year, the conversation around sugar has grown so much, especially with government intervention as well. I would be really curious to know what announcements are there with related to dietary issues in the country, isn't it, Shweta? I mean, if that's part of the economic survey, and the economic survey is a precursor to what we can expect from the budget, can we expect some kind of a sugar tax, Shweta?
I mean, it's hard to guess. It's anybody's guess. But Rakesh, it's an important point that over the last 1 year, Prime Minister has been talking a lot about obesity. He's been talking about how oil in excess is harmful, and when you're consuming too much oil, you're essentially having too many calories without really accounting for it. So there's been a focus on health. But one thing that's missing the conversation, and pardon me for I have a blocked nose due to excessive PM 2.5, PM 10 levels in the city that we're sitting in, the national capital, Delhi NCR, and that's due to the fact that there's a very bad air quality. That's been a conversation now for many years now. But this time around, that conversation has been flagged on a national level. This country, this city has become unbreathable. Should we at this point in time expect some sort of dramatic move, perhaps by the way of a corpus allocation to ensure that our cities are cleaner, that the air is breathable, that the water is drinkable? Because look at what's happened in Indore. Stories of water contamination in Noida, which is where we are at the moment.
Absolutely.
So the challenges that we are facing today are not to do with the headline numbers, which look very good on paper. But when we can't breathe the air and we can't drink the water, then I think the challenges have become more existential.
Absolutely, Shweta. I think we've failed. Let's not cut words on that. We've failed to, so to say, bring about display the political will to actually tackle these very important issues. We have had such contentious issues, and we have discussed it in the past, that we brought about reforms, we brought about consensus on sharing of revenue when it comes to GST, but we've been able to get together all the warring states, so to say, and the center and tackle the menace of pollution and basic amenities. I think what we require today is that political will which this government claims to have, and it is demonstrated on many occasions, to treat these very, very basic issues like, Gargar, Nal and Jal. These are very important schemes. Absolutely. But we need to broad base them to include clean water and then pollution more so. And it's not just a Delhi problem, Shweta. It is spreading across to all major cities. And we must remember, we're not doing that and discussing that. There is a huge economic impact on that also, because it cultivates. So it's a social, health and human issue and an economic issue.
And our working days, our productivity.
Absolutely. So I think, led by the Prime Minister, he has shown his concern for the ordinary citizen. We must have a PM monitored, task force. I'm not saying committee, because committee makes it look like very bureaucratic. But there are tangible outcomes and they're mapped. So I think if it's in part of the budget, welcome. Even if it's not part of the budget, Shweta and Krishna, it must be topmost priority for the government. And just a brief point on the agriculture, because that was my point number 9. I'm saying bite the bullet and cut down on this 80 crore, free food subsidy to each and every citizen. It's a great political statement, but we spend about 2.03 lakh crore every year. Do we really need, again, there is a, stacking there. There are not, everybody's not, as poor to deserve a free ration for the next 5 years. So it's an expense which we can convert into issues like pollution management. So in that sense, that was my point number 10.
But who will bite the bullet?
We'll have to do that. Someone has to do that. Someone has to do that.
Looking at what's come off farm laws, look at what has come up farm laws and how difficult it was to ensure that the farm laws are implemented, how they had to be rolled back. We need political consensus.
We need opposition also to equally buy into this. You can't just score political points and derail reforms.
That's right.
Reforms has to be a national priority outside of the government, so it has to be all inclusive.
There has to be some sort of political consensus, and that's one of the criticisms of this government, that there is never a political consensus.
I mean,
you hardly take opposition.
You can't put, opposition also has to play its role. One is that constructive dialogue is welcome. The floor of the House is the appropriate platform for that. Look at the disruptions the last 5 years we have had. And disruptions has become a political weapon, unfortunately. And not only with this government, it was with the earlier government also.
That's the case with many governments in the past, but I think...
And you're discussing about saving money. I'm hoping that, I'm looking at Mr. O.P. Yadav and hoping that, some of that extra money that we get in is used to subsidize our income taxes further as well, apart from, money going into curbing pollution.
It's going to be a very hard bargain. Let us put that out clearly for our viewers right now. It's going to be an extremely hard bargain. But we've run out of time. We are, of course, tracking, budget for Bulletproof Bharat. What will the budget entail? It's Nirmala Sitharaman's 9th consecutive budget. What will it mean for the people, for you and I? We'll, of course, wait. We'll have to wait for next 60 minutes or so. And that's when we'll get more clarity. But that's all the time we have on the show. We'll be back in just a bit.
सोच रहा हूँ टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस ले लूं ताकि मेरे बाद फैमिली को पैसों की कमी ना हो। तू भी ले ले।
अबे जल्दी क्या है, बाद में देख लेंगे। आराम से।
अब तक कुणाल को हार्ट अटैक आ गया यार।
पॉलिसी बाजार पर 0 GST के साथ अब 1 करोड़ का टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 400 रुपए महीने से शुरू।
With Skoda Supercare and growing network across 180 plus cities, you never drive alone.
Skoda.
Taxes, jobs, housing, electric vehicles, defense. News9 decodes the numbers behind the noise. You define India's growth story. We decode what's in it for you. Budget 2026. No noise, no confusion. A budget for a bulletproof Bharat.
एक और फैमिली ने रखा कदम अपने नए घर में, टाटा कैपिटल होम लोन्स के साथ।
Delhi is losing the fight against pollution.
This is not a story of just children.
our nation's tremendous potential for greater prosperity and global positioning under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi.
And that there is no need for state.
As we complete the first quarter of the 21st century, continuing geopolitical headwinds suggest lower global economic growth over the medium term. However, our aspiration for a Viksit Bharat inspires us, and the transformative work we have done during our government's first 2 terms guides us to march forward resolutely.
How do we balance?
Our economy is the fastest growing among all major economies. Our development track record for the past 10 years and structural reforms have drawn global attention. Confidence in India's capability and potential has only grown in this period. We see the next 5 years as a unique opportunity to realize Sabka Vikas, stimulating balanced growth of all regions. The great Telugu poet and playwright Gurujana Apparao had said, Deshamante Matti Kado, Deshamante Manushyalo, meaning a country is not just its soil, a country is its people. In line with this, for us, Viksit Bharat encompasses zero poverty,
on the other hand,
100% quality good school education,
and a
access
badly
to
drafted
high
justice
quality,
can cause more
affordable
harm
and comprehensive health
no
care,
justice at all.
100% skilled labor with meaningful employment, 70% women in economic activities, and farmers making our country the food basket of the world.
Look at a completely different picture in the days
In
to
this
come.
budget,
What's going to
the
happen?
proposed development measures span 10 broad areas focusing on Garib, youth, Annadata and Nari, spurring agricultural growth and productivity, building rural prosperity and resilience, taking everyone together on an inclusive growth path, boosting manufacturing and furthering Make in India, supporting MSMEs, enabling employment-led development, investing in people, economy and innovation, securing energy supplies, promoting exports and nurturing innovation.
Only one message.
For this journey of development, our four powerful engines are agriculture, MSME, investments and exports. The fuel, our reforms, our guiding spirit, inclusivity, and the destination, Viksit Bharat. This budget aims to initiate transformative reforms across 6 domains. During the first 5 years, these will augment our growth potential and global competitiveness. The domains are taxation, power sector, urban development, mining, financial sector and regulatory reforms. Agriculture as the first engine. Now I move to specific proposals, beginning with agriculture as the first engine.
One is that the modality that Supreme Court has
Prime Minister Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, developing agri-districts program. Motivated by the success of the aspirational district program, our government will undertake a Prime Minister Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana in partnership with states. Through the convergence of existing schemes and specialized measures, the program will cover 100 districts with low productivity, moderate crop intensity, and below average credit parameters. It aims to 1. Enhance agricultural productivity, 2.
in case of the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBCs,
adopt crop diversification and sustainable agricultural practices, 3. Augment post-harvest storage at the panchayat and block level, 4. Improve irrigation facilities, and 5. Facilitate availability of long-term and short-term credit. This program is likely to help 1.7 crore farmers.
The upper caste thing that they can do
building
everything
rural
and get
prosperity and resilience.
Whether
A comprehensive multi-sectoral rural prosperity and resilience program will be launched in partnership with the states. This will address underemployment in agriculture through skilling, investment, technology, and invigorating the rural economy. The goal is to generate ample opportunities in rural areas so that migration is an option but not a necessity. The program will focus on rural women, young farmers, rural youth, marginal and small farmers, and landless families. The details are in Annexure A. Global domestic best practices will be incorporated, and appropriate technical and financial assistance will be sought from multilateral development banks. In phase 1, 100 developing agri-districts will be covered. Atmanirbharta in pulses. Our government is implementing the National Mission for Edible Oil Seed for achieving Atmanirbharta in edible oils. Our farmers have the capability to grow enough for our needs and more. 10 years ago, we made concerted efforts and succeeded in achieving near self-sufficiency in pulses. Farmers responded to the need by increasing the cultivated area by 50%, and government arranged for procurement and remunerative prices. Since then, with rising incomes and better affordability, our consumption of pulses has increased significantly.
That talks about gender discrimination.
Our government will now launch a 6-year mission for Atmanirbharta in pulses with a special focus on Tuar, Urad and Masoor. Details are in Annexure B. Central agencies such as NAFED and NCCF will be ready to procure these 3 pulses as much as offered during the next 4 years from farmers who register with these agencies and enter into agreements.
Not even Ashok ji.
Comprehensive program for vegetables and fruits. It is encouraging that our people are increasingly becoming aware of their nutritional needs. It is a sign of a society becoming healthier. With rising income levels, the consumption of vegetables, fruits, and Shri Anna is increasing significantly. A comprehensive program to promote production, efficient supplies, processing, and remunerative prices for farmers will be launched in partnership with the states. Appropriate institutional mechanisms for implementation and participation of farmer producer organizations and cooperatives will be set up. Makhana board in Bihar. For this, there is a special opportunity for the people of Bihar. A Makhana board will be established in the state to improve production, processing, value addition, and marketing of Makhana.
For that, these regulations
the people engaged in these activities will be organized into FPOs. The board will provide hand-holding and training support to Makhana farmers and will also work to ensure they receive the benefits of all relevant government schemes. A national mission on high-yielding seeds will be launched, aimed at 1. Strengthening research ecosystem, 2. Targeted development and propagation of seeds with high yield, pest resistance, and climate resilience, and 3. Commercial availability of more than 100 seed varieties released since July 2024. India ranks second largest globally in fish production and aquaculture. Seafood exports are valued at 60,000 crore rupees. To unlock the untapped potential of the marine sector, our government will bring in an enabling framework for sustainable harnessing of fisheries from Indian exclusive economic zone and high seas, with a special focus on the Andaman and Nicobar and Lakshadweep islands.
15 days it has to be concluded.
For the benefit of lakhs of cotton growing farmers, I am pleased to announce a mission for cotton productivity. This 5-year mission will facilitate significant improvements in productivity and sustainability of cotton farming and promote extra long staple cotton varieties. The best of science and technology support will be provided to farmers. Aligned with our integrated 5F vision for the textile sector, this will help in increasing incomes of the farmers and ensure a steady supply of quality cotton for rejuvenating India's traditional textile sector.
So these were the 4 things.
Kisan credit cards facilitate short-term loans for 7.7 crore farmers, fishermen and dairy farmers. The loan limit under modified interest subvention scheme will be enhanced from 3 lakh rupees to 5 lakh rupees for loans taken through the KCC.
You're absolutely right. We do need to specify on what this committee is going to look like. That's coming right on the other side. Do stay on with us, Advocate Chadda and Bharti, do stay on with us. A quick commercial breather. And on the other side, we'll talk about the vagueness and the misuse aspect that the Supreme Court highlighted. Once again today,
lakh metric tons will be set up at Namrup in Assam.
Laws were badly drafted, or was the law flawed in the first place? With me on the broadcast,
India Post,
Ashok Bharti,
with 1.5 lakh rural post offices, complemented by the India Post Payment Bank and a vast network of 2.4 lakh dark savers, will be repositioned to act as a catalyst for the rural economy. Details are at Annexure C.
We were talking about the same thing. You argued that UGC, these regulations,
India Post will also be transformed as a large public logistics organization. This will meet the rising needs of Vishwakarmas, new entrepreneurs, women, self-help groups, MSMEs, and the large business organizations. Our government will provide support to NCDC for its lending operations for the cooperative sector. MSMEs as the second engine. Now I move to MSMEs as the second engine, which encompasses manufacturing and services with a focus on MSMEs numbering 5.7 crores. Currently, over 1 crore registered MSMEs, employing 7.5 crore people and generating 36% of our manufacturing, have come together to position India as a global manufacturing hub. With their quality products.
So what's the right way? What's the right way then, Rahul? How do we go about that? You're talking about social
these
and
MSMEs are responsible
a portion of society is putting sweets in each
of our
other's mouth.
exports.
The other portion is
higher
really
efficiencies
not
of scale,
very happy with what happened in the
technological
Supreme Court. Where are we headed then?
upgradation, and better access to capital. The investment and turnover limits for classification of all MSMEs will be enhanced to 2.5 and 2 times respectively. This will give them the confidence to grow and generate employment for our youth. The details are given in Annexure D. To improve access to credit, the credit guarantee cover will be enhanced. First, for micro and small enterprises from 5 crore to 10 crore rupees, leading to additional credit of 1.5 lakh crores in the next 5 years. Second, for startups from 10 crore rupees to 20 crore
I think
rupees,
that's a great way to put it. A plus B, not A versus B. So, Ashok ji, the court has flagged misuse and vagueness.
27 focus sectors which are important for Atmanirbhar
Many
Bharat.
lawyers argued when you have Part B, then is there
for
really a need
well-run
for Part C?
exporter
And if there is a need
MSMEs,
for Part C, then why
for
not
term
specific
loans
parts for
up to
gender
20
inclusion,
crore
part for disabled
rupees.
people, a special section
Also
and
for
a
the
clause
micro
for women.
enterprises.
I mean, those are
We
some
will
questions that will
introduce
come about.
customized
Is the
credit
answer now
cards
to refine
with a
these
5
safeguards
lakh
and
rupee
in
limit
front? How do you see
for
this new
micro
committee being
enterprises
worked around?
registered on Udyam portal. In the first
The
10
one thing
lakh,
that I
in
would
the
like
first
to
year,
share that
10 lakh such cards
this
will be
very
issued.
guideline which are being
Fund of
discussed
funds for startups The Alternate Investment Fund, AIF, for startups have received commitments of more than 91,000 crores rupees. These are supported by the fund of funds set up with the Government of India's contribution of 10,000 crore rupees. Now, a new fund of funds with expanded scope and a fresh contribution of another 10,000 crore rupees will be set up.
So therefore, as Supreme Court has directed,
a new scheme will be launched for 5 lakh women, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, first-time entrepreneurs. This will provide term loans up to 2 crore rupees during the next 5 years. The scheme will incorporate lessons from the successful Stand Up India scheme. Online capacity building for entrepreneurship and managerial skills will also be organized.
There be 1,000
measures for labor-intensive sectors to promote employment and entrepreneurship opportunities in labor-intensive sectors. Our government will undertake specific policy and facilitation measures to enhance the productivity, quality and competitiveness of India's footwear and leather sector. A focused product scheme will be implemented. The scheme will support design capacity, component manufacturing and machinery required for production of non-leather quality footwear, besides the support for leather footwear and products. The scheme is expected to facilitate employment for 22 lakh persons, generate over 4 lakh crore rupees and exports of over 1.1 lakh crore rupees.
A history
measures for the toys sector, building on the National Action Plan for Toys. We will implement a scheme to make India a global hub for toys.
It exists across the world.
The scheme will focus on development of clusters, skills,
something that
and a
Chaddaji said that he is for the regulations. He said he is for the regulations.
High quality, unique, innovative, and sustainable toys that will represent the Made in India brand.
So I think the bottom line is clear. The bottom line is clear.
For food processing. In line with the commitment towards Purvodaya, we will establish a national institute of
Rahul right now said let's not use the sweets to rub wounds on other people's, rub salt on other people's.
The institute will provide
a strong Mr. Advocate Chadda was here saying that he was for the rules. It's just that the vagueness that the Supreme Court pointed out. Let's work around it and we can put more safeguard rails here and
enhanced income for the farmers through value addition to their produce.
We're going to talk about the
UGC skilling entrepreneurship and employment opportunities for the youth.
But it seems like the political and the social
manufacturing mission furthering Make in India. Our government will set up a national manufacturing mission covering small, medium and large industries for furthering Make in India by providing policy support, execution roadmaps, governance and monitoring framework for central ministries and states. Details are in Annexure E. Given our commitment to climate-friendly development, the mission will also support clean tech manufacturing. This will aim to improve domestic value addition and build our ecosystem for solar PV cells, EV batteries, motors and controllers, electrolyzers, wind turbines, very high voltage transmission equipment and grid-scale batteries.
That the provisions are vague
investment as the third engine.
Misuse.
Now I move to investment as the third engine, which encompasses investing in people, investing in the economy, and investing in innovation. Investing in people, Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0. Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0 program provides nutritional support to more than 8 crore children.
And the core of the legal
1 crore pregnant women and lactating mothers all over the country.
Petitioners argue
and about 20 lakh adolescent girls in aspirational districts and the northeast region. The cost norms for these nutritional support will be enhanced appropriately. Atal Tinkering Labs. 50,000 Atal Tinkering Labs will be set up in government schools in the next 5 years to cultivate the spirit of curiosity and innovation and foster a scientific temper among young minds. Broadband connectivity to government secondary schools and PHCs. Broadband connectivity will be provided to all government secondary schools and primary health centers in rural areas under the BharatNet project. Bharatiya Bhasha Pustak scheme. We propose to implement the Bharatiya Bhasha Pustak scheme to provide digital form Indian language books for schools and for higher education. This aims to help students understand their subjects better and in their language. National Centers of Excellence for Skilling.
Is it possible?
Building on the initiative announced in the July 24 budget,
everyone without diluting
5 national centers of excellence for skilling will be set up with global expertise and partnerships to equip our youth with the skills required for Make for India, Make for the World. Manufacturing. The partnership will cover curriculum design, training of trainers and a skill certification framework and periodic reviews. Expansion of capacity in IITs. Total number of students in 23 IITs has increased 100% from 65,000 to 1.35 lakh in the past 10 years.
We've been discussing this for the last 2 days as well. Some argue that any stay on these kind of measures aimed at social justice is regressive.
Additional
something that the court
infrastructure will be created in the 5 IITs started after 2014 to facilitate education for 6,500 more students. Hostel and other infrastructure capacity
Where should the balance lie?
at IIT Patna will also be expanded.
How do you view the Supreme Court stay? Is it a setback? Is it a pause? Are we looking at an improvement of the laws?
Center of excellence.
A completely different picture in the days to come. What's going to happen next?
Center of Excellence in AI for Education. I had announced 3 centers of excellence in artificial intelligence for agriculture, health and sustainable cities in 2023. Now a center of excellence in artificial intelligence for education will be set up with a total outlay of 500 crores. Expansion of medical education. Our government has added almost 1.1 lakh undergraduate and postgraduate medical education seats in 10 years, an increase of 130%. In the next year, 10,000 additional seats will be added in medical colleges and hospitals towards the goal of adding 75,000 seats in the next 5 years.
Would be diluting the purview of what the Supreme Court said. I was going through the arguments as well.
Centers
There are
in
several
all
other cases.
district
The entire,
hospitals.
the top
Our
court of the land
government
can't
will
just simply
facilitate
aside and give the entire day to these regulations.
Setting up of
And,
daycare
this particular
cancer
case.
centers in
I
all
mean, just to
district
say that,
hospitals
they have no other
in the
option,
next
they put
3
a stay
years.
because this is the pattern
200 centers will be established in 25-26
Talk to us
itself.
about the new committee. There's a new committee that's going to be set
Strengthening
up.
urban
Notices to the
livelihoods.
center have been issued.
Our government
the
has
train
been
certainly
giving
moved to another
priority
station.
to assisting urban poor and vulnerable groups. A scheme for socio-economic upliftment of urban workers will be implemented to help them improve their incomes, have sustainable livelihoods and a better quality of life. PM Swanidhi scheme has benefited more than 68 lakh street vendors, giving them respite from high-interest informal sector loans. Building on this success, the scheme will be revamped with enhanced loans from banks, UPI-linked credit cards with 30,000 rupees limit and capacity building support.
And particularly
social security scheme for welfare of online platform workers, gig workers of online platforms provide great dynamism to the new age services economy. Recognizing their contribution, our government will arrange for their identity cards and registration on the e-Shram portal. They will be provided healthcare under PM Jan Arogya Yojana. This measure is likely to assist nearly 1 crore gig workers.